How do you even know what you're meant to do in life? How do you know what is the next step? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Alessia Maria. For those of you who haven't been here before, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. This week's episode, we're talking about how do you know if your next life challenge is coming up, or how do you know if your next life shift or big new thing is coming up? I really wanted to talk about this because the answer is you don't. That's the very simple answer. So if you just want a simple answer, I guess you don't. There you go. That's it. But the reality is there can be a lot of moments where there are signs that it's time to move on. It's time to go to your next big challenge. It's time to figure out what's next, For example, there's the moments where it's obvious, like, hey, you graduate college, now what's next? You're not going to keep going to college, or at least the one where you were at. Maybe you'll go to grad school, maybe you'll start working, maybe you'll, there's a million different things. So sometimes it's obvious that there's something new coming. And other times it's a little bit less obvious. Other times it's like everything maybe looks the same in your day-to-day life, but there's some sort of shift going on there. How do you know that it's time? How do you know? And the answer is there's not a right time for anything. For example, I think a lot about shifts in life when I think about this podcast, about Eunoia in general, how I started it. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea if it was the right time. I kept saying, well, I'll just wait until I know more about it. I'll just wait until it feels right. I'll just wait until all these different things. And you just kind of got to jump in. And I kept seeing these videos online. I kept seeing TikToks, things like that, where people were just saying, there's never a right time, so just jump in, right? And I was terrified. And honestly, I didn't have it figured out. I still feel like I don't have it figured out. How many, a year later, more than a year later, I still feel like I don't have it figured out. I'm still learning how to work with YouTube. I'm still learning how to work with Instagram, how to work with just the podcasting in general. But the process, if I had never started, then where would I be? I'd still be at square one. I'd still be trying to learn. I'd still be trying to figure out, okay, when is it time to start? And I wouldn't be where I am today. And even though I'm not where I maybe want to be forever, maybe I'm not where my ultimate dream is, maybe there's still a lot that I want to learn, I'm further ahead than I was then. And I think that something we don't talk about, you always hear the it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And I do agree, that's true. It's true. But I think what we don't talk about as much is how rewarding that journey can be. How really, once you start, you fall in love with what you're doing. I fell in love with podcasting. I fell in love with Eunoia, the whole brand, talking about all of it, watching myself grow, looking back on where I was a year ago versus now, all of that, where it feels like a part of me. It's a part of me. And even though I have no idea what I want in the end, I have no idea what the next step is, I have no idea where I'll be even in a few months. I'm going to be going to study abroad in Australia at some point. I have no idea what the podcast is going to look like while I'm there. But I know that I love what I'm doing right now. And I want to keep doing that. I want to keep living in that moment. And I want to keep enjoying what it is that I'm doing right now. And thinking about the same thing in different aspects of life, right? College, people are always asking me, well, what do you want to do after college? And my answer is, well, I've got a bunch of ideas, but my heart's not set on anything right away, I'll figure it out. And I think that somehow kind of not being attached to a specific outcome is how you know that it's time for something new to happen. Not necessarily knowing what the outcome is going to be. When I started the podcast, when I started Eunoia, I did not even know that it was going to be a podcast. I started it as a blog, actually. And I eventually ended up, it kind of just changed itself. It kind of just shifted into a podcast. It shifted into its own thing. And I think I didn't really have an ultimate vision for Eunoia. I kind of did, but the way I was going to get there, what I actually wanted it to look like, the nitpicky things, I wasn't connected to anything. I have a video on attachment at some point way back, and that right there, I think, is kind of the key to knowing when it's time for something new to happen, is when you don't really feel attached to any sort of outcome. Because when you're not attached to any sort of outcome, you're able to really feel in the moment, and you're able to figure out what is it that I want to feel in the moment. Right now, in the moment, I love the creativity that this podcast gives me. I love the learning that college gives me. I love the joy that going out and buying groceries and buying flowers gives me, the little things in life. And instead of striving for something in the future, for a destination, for an outcome, strive for, why do you want that outcome? What is that outcome going to make you feel? The outcome of having a podcast makes me feel grateful, productive, makes me feel like I am doing something, that I'm making a change, and I'm honoring my inner self. So why do I have to wait for the destination when instead I can do it now, right? Yeah, my podcast is still growing. There's a lot more to be done, but my ultimate goal is to feel like I am doing something for my inner self. My ultimate goal is to make a change for people. So I started that now. And it changed. It went from a blog to, I don't even know, it was something else at one point. I don't even know. And then this, it changed. But the entire time, I felt that. And that's why I fell in love with the brand, with what I've created, with the process. Because even though I may not be at that destination, I did it. I still did it because I'm doing it right now. And I think that is how you are able to love that journey and not just focus on the destination, is because you have to focus on the feeling, not the material aspects. And when you're not focused on a destination, when you kind of live in a gray area where everything is kind of up in the air, that sometimes is a sign that it's time for something new, right? You're moving from college onto whatever's next. You don't know what's next. It's a gray area. It's a sign that something's going to be coming. You're moving from, even just maybe in your everyday life, you're feeling a little bit unmotivated. You're feeling just I feel like I need to be doing something. I feel like I need to be using my creative juices. I feel like I need to be stimulating my mind. I need to, whatever it is that you're craving, that might be a sign that something big is coming. And you have to make an effort to do that something big thing. Make an effort, whatever feels right, whatever feels like, hey, that's going to I want to be creative. So, okay, I'm going to go and get some paints out, I'll go to the closet, get some paints out, get a canvas out. And I am not good at drawing, but I'm going to use that and stimulate my mind. I think we just get so focused on what's next that we forget about what's now. And how are you going to start your next life challenge? How are you going to live your next life transition if you don't start now? If you don't focus on whatever it is that feeling is, whatever it is that you're going towards, that you're striving for, if you don't work to strive for it in the now. It doesn't need to be a destination that you're striving for. It needs to be an emotion, a feeling, what is it, what is the purpose for that destination? What does that destination do for you? And not about the material things. Oh, hey, I want to be a doctor because I'll get a lot of money. No. I want to be a doctor because I want to help people. Hey, that might be something that you can already do right now. Volunteering, going out and meeting people, making some sort of change, right? Maybe that's not your ultimate goal. Maybe you want to be a doctor, but that doesn't mean you have to wait until then. Something that's hard for me sometimes when I'm in my classes and stuff is that my ultimate goal is to be helping people, right? And in my classes, I know that what I am learning to do is going to help me do that someday, right? But actively, currently, while I am doing that, while I am taking the steps for that destination, when I'm actually sitting in that class, I'm not helping people. And so I don't get that feeling of yeah, I'm doing the right thing, And sometimes I do. I know I'm doing the right thing. I'm grateful for what I'm doing. But you don't necessarily get that peace from doing what it is that your soul, your heart is calling for. So on that side, doing something that's still going to allow you to pursue that feeling. Does that make sense? I'm not sure if that's making sense. But just the idea of like, hey, maybe you are taking steps for a destination. Because, right, if there is a specific destination you want to get towards, you're not going to get towards it unless you start, right? But if starting isn't going to quite give you the feeling that it is that you're striving for with that destination, you can do other stuff that's going to help with that too. Say, let's use the doctor example again, right? Being in classes, being in a biology class or a chemistry class, learning about all these things, right? It's not actively allowing you to help people, but that's what you really strive for. So it's okay to go out and do something that is helping people, to be volunteering on the side, to be starting your own podcast on the side, to be doing whatever it is that calls to you on the side. And I think that's why I think that's why a lot of people get burnt out, get feeling like, I can't, complete my goals. I can't accomplish them. Things like that is because we focus so much on that destination, but we forget to realize that we can still satisfy that need for whatever that feeling is, the need for creativity, the need for helping people, that need for doing something, like that calling, that thing that you're passionate about. You can still satisfy that in your current day. And I think that satisfying that is what keeps us passionate, what keeps us going, what keeps us interested, what keeps us and reminds us to keep going. I guess for me, when I am losing interest in something, when I am having a hard time staying focused on my goals, it's because in my everyday life, I'm not actively doing something that's reminding me why I want that goal, why that goal is important to me. So thinking about Eunoia is a really big goal for me, to continue to grow it, to continue to build it into what I want it to be. But if I'm not actively working on that stuff in my day-to-day life, if I sometimes pre-record, I used to pre-record episodes all the time, and sometimes I have to, so sometimes I do. But lately I've been recording them every week because sometimes if I pre-record too much, I get so caught up in doing other stuff that I don't record for weeks because I already have pre-recorded and edited episodes, that I end up forgetting about that passion. You think that it's a passion, so it's going to stay with you forever, right? But you have to actively feed and fuel that passion, because otherwise it's easy to forget about it. It's easy to get caught up in other life stuff and just to forget about that thing, and then you get burnt out because you're maybe focusing on things that aren't actually really stimulating you, that aren't actually really making you feel grateful, feeling like you are doing something that you are proud of, feeling good about yourself, feeling good about life, feeling like you are, like you have to be using your creative juices, you have to be using your brain, you have to be like doing all these different things. And if you're so focused on one thing that you're not being able to be focused on the thing that you're really truly passionate about, it can feel like burnout because you're so busy, but it's on something that isn't actually your passion. Or you're so busy and then you're burnt out by the end of the day that you don't focus on that thing that really makes you passionate. So instead, putting some focus on it, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, to sit down and draw, to sit down and sing, to sit down and do whatever it is that's passionate, that makes you passionate, it somehow allows your mind to just rest, to be like, yeah, we're doing this, and I'm excited we're doing this, and this is what I want to be doing. And I don't know, that's just something for me that I've noticed, that when I have a goal I want to work towards, I have to actively be working towards it. For example, one of my other things is my yoga teacher training. I love yoga. I love my yoga teacher training. I am so passionate about it. but I haven't been working on it lately. After the surgery, I couldn't do yoga for so long, and I've tried, and it's been really hard for me to get back into my routine. And suddenly, my yoga teacher training, I haven't been doing it lately. I haven't been feeling excited about it lately. And I know that before I even start the training, I need to get back into the routine. I need to get back into practicing yoga myself and remind myself that I am so passionate about doing yoga, about moving my body, about taking care of my body. And then after that, I'll start to get more motivated to I want to share this with other people too. So I want to keep doing that training. Motivation does not just stay because you're passionate about something. It doesn't just stay. You have to actively work towards motivation. You have to set yourself up for that success. And I think that that's something that, we're kind of just expected in life to be able to do the things we need to do. And we don't think about the fact that motivation is something that you have to work towards. It's something that sometimes you just have to go through your routine without feeling anything. Because motivation does not stay forever. If it did, we'd all be getting 1,000,001 things done. And being able to allow yourself to recognize and rest is really important. So those have been my thoughts lately. And as I am getting back into a transition, getting back into doing my normal things again after my surgery, and classes are going to be starting soon, I've just really been thinking about that lately. How can I keep my passion going? How can I keep my podcast, my passion, the things that I love going? How can I continue to be creative in my everyday life? And how can I really set the intention? Because whatever it is that you do that you're passionate about, you have to have the intention there. And when you have the intention there, when you just focus on the things that make you feel passionate, that make you feel alive, after that, you just listen to your gut, you listen to your intuition, and usually life will guide you along the way of whatever next life change, challenge, transition is next.